Okay, Assalamualaikum and good evening to everyone. My name is Muhammad Farul Razzi bin Bukhari. I'm a final year student at the London School of Economics. So, first off, I would like to thank everyone for coming today. We are delighted today to have the EM Director with us, the new EM Director, Dr. Zainal Abidin. So, thank you, Doctor. And of course, we are honoured today to be joined by our distinguished speaker, Mr. Syed Saddiq. So, Mr. Saddiq is a prominent youth activist in Malaysia. He's also a final year law student in UIA. And of course, he is also the top Asia debater. So, Mr. Saddiq is here to actually adjudicate the Cambridge InterVarsity debate. So, he was the chief adjudicator at the event.
It just concluded,
It just concluded,
yeah.
I asked Mr. Saddiq just now if he would like me to specifically mention anything about him. And he told me to tell everyone that he is first and foremost a cat lover, and secondly, he's also a Selena Gomez fan. So
I see the judgment. She is like brushing.
So Mr. Saddiq is actually flying back to Malaysia tonight at 9:40, but we are lucky enough to grab him and ask him to stay with us a bit longer and give a speech to you guys tonight. So, a brief introduction before I get into how the night is going to unfold about MPUK. So, MPUK is basically Malaysian Progressive United Kingdom. So, we are a newly formed organisation. It has only been 2 months for us. What we aspire to do is basically two things. One is that we would like to engage in mature political discussion, and secondly, to foster vibrant student activism in the UK. So the way the event is going to take place tonight is, firstly, I'm going to let Mr. Saddiq speak about anything that we'd like to for 20 minutes. And we are going to follow up with a Q&A and a discussion session. But a slight different about how I'm going to carry out the discussion session is that I'm going to let you guys follow up with your questions. So it's not like I'm going to take 5 questions and let him answer all the questions at one go, but I'm going to let you guys follow up with whatever questions that you guys have. So as you guys notice, it's a small room. So hopefully, if it's a small room, we can have a more intimate session. So don't be afraid to ask, okay? So without further ado, Mr. Saddiq, you want to speak? Yeah, thanks.
If I may stand up. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good evening to all. Doctor, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I want to thank all of you for having me here today. One thing which is genuinely good, something which I hope will be seen in a lot of Malaysian youth back at home, is that we should attend more sessions like this. It doesn't have to be people like me. It can be politicians, public figures. We need to have more intellectual discussions on all levels of society. I am a proud Malaysian. People might call me like, nationalist ni, dah kena indoctrinated sekolah tentera, biasalah tu. Like, some people might say that that's blind nationalism, but my love towards my country is unparalleled. My mom would usually joke about it, ni kalau kahwin dengan negara je lah. Sounds really sad. I think adding Selena Gomez in the equation might be worse, and having cats, like, it's also worse as well. But back to the point, we need more sessions like this, and we need more people like you guys to conduct sessions like this, and maybe in the future lead sessions and speak in sessions like this in order for Malaysia to become better. And the first thing which I hope, this is me just jumping into it, I genuinely hope that all of you, or at least the vast majority of you, would come back to Malaysia. And I'm not saying that if you make the decision to stay here, that you are suboptimal, that you have forgotten your nation. No. Pretty sure that if you work here, you'll become successful, and I hope that you'll come back to Malaysia. The reason being is that Malaysia today, if you ask me, is going through a very unique phase. And that unique phase definitely magnetizes different forms of struggles. Economic struggles, political struggles, and people like me and you often feel disenchanted. Like, is there still a hope in Malaysia? Like, should we just leave Malaysia and build our own lives, detach ourselves from our nationalistic values and prioritize on our own professional life? But it is in this unique time that we need more people who are willing to speak up, more people who are willing to fight the struggles in your own unique ways. It doesn't mean that you have to join a political party, it doesn't mean that you have to go on the streets, no. It just means that you can fight your own ways. You can come back to Malaysia, work, become a professional, become an employer, hire as many people as possible, etc., etc. But the point is, we need the intellectual class to come back, and I hope that you guys will assist me in inviting your other friends to come back, or at least to still have that hope. So I want to briefly talk about the Malaysian struggle, and this is the Malaysian struggle from my perspective. Undeniably, Malaysia is significantly better than where we were before. I know some people might be skeptical of this, but back then, if I am to be vocal, I'll be behind bars. Back then, I will not be able to be vocal in university or even outside of university. The fact that I'm able to speak to people like you is indicative that Malaysia today has progressed. However, there's also a slight pessimism tied to it. That progression is not at its fullest stage. It also means that currently when I'm to speak up, I will possibly face a disciplinary hearing in my university, obviously not because of this, but because of past actions. I got 3 death threats from the month of August. But that is the nature of the struggle, that if we are to win, there will definitely be disappointments, but if we are to come out from that struggle, Malaysia will be a much, much, much better place. And I believe that if we are able to collectivize our voice, we will come out victorious in this struggle. Definitely in the fact that so much tremendous progress has been made thus far from where we were before. Back then, any kind of corruption reports, leaks will not be reported. Back then, there's no Facebook, internet wasn't as widespread as it is today. Any kind of abuses and misusage can go free. Will not be vindicated by any party. So therefore, this is the unique stage. But that unique stage can only be exploited when it's exploited in a positive way, is when we have more people like us assisting to build Malaysia. And why do I keep on stressing the word collective? If we only expect a few Malaysians to speak up, it becomes much easier to suppress the voices of the few. The point in which one person gets suppressed, there's a ripple effect. Why would other people choose to speak up when there's already a precedent and an example that a person has chosen to speak up and the person has been silenced? And that's why, if you want to follow, I'll discuss about what I did previously. The reason why I choose not to remain silent is because if I do remain silent, I believe that my close friends or my family members will also choose to remain silent. They keep on saying, Saddiq, janganlah, graduate dulu, let it be, wait 5 to 10 years, tu kalau nak vocal lah. But if everyone thinks like that, it becomes much harder for other vocal Malaysians to speak up. Because when the few choose to speak up and do not have the backing of the collective, the few can easily be silenced. But in an alternative world, in which more of the intellectuals speak up, people of our age category, it becomes implausible, if not impossible, for anyone, regardless of their political ideology, to shut us up. And I think that's why I'm stressing the word the collective. And I will be honest, there will definitely be setbacks, there will be disappointments, there will possibly even be actions. But let us not forget that all those actions, disappointments, and setbacks, and the likelihood of that happening, will only increase if we only leave the responsibility of fighting for a better Malaysia to the hands of the few. And that should not happen. Because if you want to think about it, if back then, in the 1970s, 1980s, our leaders, national leaders, both from the government and the opposition, did not clamour for our rights, if Tunku Abdul Rahman back then did not clamour for our rights, then we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have the opportunity to even be in the UK studying, paid by the Malaysian government, paid by the Malaysian taxpayer. But we are here today because of struggles made by the past. And because of that, we've realised, in hindsight, you will see that those struggles are what got us here today. And currently we are uniquely situated to also pursue for our own struggles to benefit us and the future generation which is about to come. If we do not make that push, if we fail and we just choose to sit idly, and let's assume that the voices of the few who are vocal do end up succeeding, they're able to win that struggle, who will benefit from it? It's still us. It's still our children, it's still our grandchildren. But the fact that we are leaving that moral decision to the hands of the few is, to some extent, selfish. And I personally believe that each and every one of us have a role to play in constructing that better Malaysia. The second thing which I want to discuss here, very briefly, is the disclaimer here. Usually people ask, like, we should fight for Malaysia by joining politics or going on the streets or through a myriad of other ways. But fighting for Malaysia is not an exclusive fight. It's not an exclusionary one in which can only be won through politics. Again, I'm not discounting politics as an avenue for change. But I know that some of you might not like it. Some of you might see it as a dirty platform, as a platform which doesn't fit your moral framework. But that's fine. No one should be able to force you to join that platform. But being a nationalist or being a person who adores and loves your country is not a person who must pursue that path through politics. That's a one-dimensional viewpoint. A lot of other things which can you again. If you are here and you will most probably become a doctor, maybe you choose to work here for 5 years and you choose to come back, you run the Malaysian hospital, you improve our healthcare system, hundreds of thousands of people will benefit through your actions and the gratitude which you show towards Malaysians at home. It is our fight, but just because it is our fight, it's not a one-dimensional fight. You can assist Malaysians in your own unique way, through your own unique platforms, but that has to happen. But what I would like to stress here as well, just because we are fighting through our own struggles, through our own different unique platforms, at the end our objective is still the same. That this is for Malaysia, it is for our children, our grandchildren, it's for our brothers and sisters, it's for our friends, it is for you and me, for a better Malaysia. And even though we are on these different platforms, if you are to see that your brothers and sisters back at home are to be wrong, when you know that a politician is to perpetrate an injustice regardless of their background, regardless of the political party and platform which they are in, that's when, even though our struggles are through using different platforms, that's when we need to unite. And this is where it's critical. Because you shouldn't only have politicians bickering and fighting to represent us. Because those politicians will not have the mandate and voices to liberate us from our own struggles if we do not back them up. And it doesn't only have to be politicians. I will not have the stomach to pursue this fight and struggle if I do not have the backing of my family members and my friends and people like you. I wouldn't be able to even think of considering what I'm doing today. A myriad of individuals have attempted to silence me, tried to court me, but I know that at the end, if I am to fail, even though I might not be the richest of person, even though I might not get the best of jobs, but I will never be able to answer to myself in the future, why did I sell my soul? What happened to my conscience? What happened to my identity? To my love towards my country? And that's where I genuinely hope and implore that all of you in your own unique ways should fight for a better Malaysia. But when people like you and me are to be silenced, suppressed, trampled upon, there's never been a more unique and important time for us to unite behind those individuals. I want to end this with, again, there's a reason why it's Macai Malaysia. a very brief discussion on that and why I brought it up and why I fought for it, is that at the end, that struggle is not a political struggle. It is a bipartisan struggle. It is a Malaysian struggle. And that's why I do not like to put myself in any political boxes or push my viewpoints by using any political lenses. I've had the opportunity and privilege to work with members of the government, with YBKJ, YB Nancy, and currently I'm working with YB Khalid Nordin. At the same time, I've also had the opportunity to interact, meet, enter discussions, especially Dato' Saifuddin, YB Nuriza, Rafiz Ramli, etc. But at the end, I respect all of them, but my priority again is to look at issues in comparison to what political parties support. And I think this is an alien concept in Malaysia. Usually if you are to join one political party, you support one political party, every single policy and outcome is seen through that party lens. And let's face it, that no political party is perfect. I mean, in the UK, if you follow UK politics, you'll know it. Like, David Cameron is not perfect. Jeremy Corbyn, oh my god. Yeah, shouldn't say that here. But no parties are perfect. I think it's critical that Malaysians pull themselves behind and look at issues forwarded by each political party and critically assess it in comparison to just following what political party says. So for example, if you are a person who's an advocate for the GST, then you should fight for it, regardless of the end supporting it. If you dislike it, you should fight against it, even if the party which you subscribe to might be the government of the day. No parties are perfect, and I'm pretty sure and if you have to look at the opposition, okay, I'm not going to give a political speech, can have a discussion about that later, but pretty sure all of us in this room would be able to find mistakes of all political parties. If you don't, I recommend that you read both newspapers, like read the Sun Harian, read Malaysia Kini, and the rest. That's the best thing to do. But at the end, never forget that the objective is not to put in a party into power or to pull a party down. The end goal is always what serves the best interest of Malaysia through your own individual lens. If you find that that action is wrong, then you should speak out against it. Do not pull yourself down just because it contravenes with your principles or your holding in support of a political party. So, again, I want to spend more time on the Q&A later. I'm just going to end my speech with this. If you had met me 5 years ago, you would hate me. I hated myself back then. I mean, in retrospect, when I see I can look at this in hindsight. That did like maybe like 3 years, 4 years ago, that doesn't count. This was when I first joined the Royal Military College. I was the epitome of un-Malaysianness. I was a racist, and this is not like this normal racist. If you think that Perkasa is bad, I was beyond Perkasa. I pointed out. I do not want to mention what I believe that I was so terrible. I was a bigot. I was religious, not borderline religious extremist. Kalau kau tak sembahyang, kau masuk neraka ni. Like it's not only that. Aku like padan muka ni, kalau sakit memang sebab ni. So like at one point in time, I even like defended Al-Qaeda. I was so bad, but that was me back then. My knowledge was like, if you like back then I mentioned this just now. It's like I thought Africa was a country. I thought Egypt was a continent. Back then my English was terrible. Like I did not get A's for my PMR, my UPSR. My English was the one in which I did not get an A. But I am here today because of my own personal struggle. I mean, my personal struggle was when I made the decision to join the debate world, to enrich myself with knowledge. And then I realized that I'm also here today because of struggles made by my fathers and my forefathers, made by the leaders of our nation, regardless of the party which they're in. And that was a struggle which I went through, but I realized that my success was also created by others. And that's when I realized that it is more critical for me to give back, or to at least assist others to give back in their own unique ways. If I'm able to make that transformative process to where I'm at today, I'm quite confident that the average Malaysian will be able to do so. Some of you might lose hope in your friends who are like on Facebook say, ni gila ni memang tak ada harapan, dia tak ada ubah fikiran dia, dah memang like, jangan salah. But that was me back then. If I can make that swing in 2 or 3 years' time, with the support, with the compassion of my friends and family, I'm quite confident that each and every one of us will be able to support our friends who might be on the wrong path, but to pull them back to the right path, to pull them back to the Malaysian path. Do not lose hope in them. Because if you lose hope in them, they will lose hope in Malaysia. Collectively, all of us will lose hope in our beautiful nation. And I think that's something which is critical. I was a terrible person before this. I'm here today because of that struggle, because of the compassion showed by my fellow countrymen and women. And I genuinely hope that each and every one of you here today will be able to show the very same compassion to the Malaysians who were like me previously. Because without me today, or those of you who are in this room, the Malaysia which you'll be living in will be a very bleak country. But for the beautiful Malaysia which we are living in today, it is here today because of people like you and me. And I hope that we'll be able to unite, collectivize our voices and interests, and pursue for a greater Malaysia regardless of race, religion, identities, politics. But the outcome and priority should always be Malaysia. Thank you very much.